Hi, Fashion Dolls. It is Thankful Thursday, January 30th, and we are closing out the month of January with two amazing special guests, Fashion Dolls. I'm super excited about our very special guest today. He is an actor, he is a content creator, and he is an angel counselor. And I'm super excited to have him here in the dollhouse with me. Please join me, Fashion Dolls, as we welcome our very special guest, the handsome, the incredibly talented Ryan Keith. Shout outs to my brother, the K2 Spot. Please make sure you guys go and check out his platform. Check that out as well, too. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I was feeling gold today. I was feeling gold today. Hopefully it works. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see what is going on today. I don't know what is going on. Can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me? I think it just might have booted Ryan from the live. I don't know what is going on, y'all. That's crazy because yesterday it was working. Okay, it says that he's unable to join. Okay, you can hear me and see me. What is going on then? Okay, let me try again and see if that'll work. There we are. There we are.
There we are.
Hello.
Hello,
Welcome to the Dog House.
how are you?
I am doing wonderful. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
You as well. You as well. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time out to invite me on your show. Your show is amazing, by the way. I had the pleasure of catching a few of them, and wow, you've really come a long way. I mean, just watching you progress as, I mean, you're an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What was your favorite interview? Because I sent you so many.
You sent me all of them. You know what, to be honest with you, because a lot of your guests seem to be similar in the way of motivation, right? And
Yeah.
so everything just kind of piled on. And I think that's what I like the most about it is that all of your guests had a similar mindset, with regards to motivation, kind of staying motivated, especially through these times that we're living with now, because it's so easy to get distracted and to get down and to get out. So it's like every single interview is like, okay, just stay motivated, stay motivated. What motivates you? What motivates you? And I think that was amazing. Actually, I mean, your whole show is about motivation. Because I'm sure you know how hard it is to, like you said, stay positive in this world where every single day it's something negative, and it's just like, can we just not for once?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for you, how has 2025 been for you so far? We are at the end of the new month. This month, January, will now be heading into February. So how's 2025 been for you so far?
I think so far it's going well. I think a lot of changes have been made, and similar to like I mentioned earlier, with you and the progression, I think that's what it's about. It's about progression, and I think that's what helped me get through 2024 even. I have conversations with a lot of my fellow, actors and content creators and just people trying to stay on the right path and kind of figure out what path they want to go on. And one common thread I think that we have is that we have a tendency to try to put our feet into dabble into so many different things, and you can't be 100%. You can't be great at like 500 different things. You kind of have to pick like one or two things that you can be passionate about, and you have to go for it. And I think for me personally, 2024, that was my year to dabble in a bunch of different things. And then towards the end of that year, to kind of hone in on, okay, I need to focus on just doing this, and this, and that's it. And, kind of keep everything else out that might be considered noise, if you will.
that was going to be my first question for you is how do you handle distractions with everything that is going on? How do you stay so centered and
Um,
focused? How do you tackle distractions?
Minimizing my news intake, um,
Mm,
minimizing that. Same thing from a social media standpoint, minimizing the nonsense on social media. So, like a lot of accounts I'll follow will be like actors' accounts or other creative accounts, as opposed to just nonsense where people posting fancy this, fancy that, trip, all that kind of stuff, which is great, but that kind of stuff can have a toll on you because you start thinking that that's real life. And you've heard stories, I'm sure, of people seeing these content creators and seeing people post all this stuff like they have the best life, and now they're depressed because they feel like their lives don't live up to what they're seeing on
right.
social media. And that's hard. That's very, very hard. So I think for me, it's just more so surrounding myself with other creatives and people that understand kind of what I go through. And, similar to yourself, surround yourself with people that understand you so that way you can be free. You can talk freely and they'll understand and not put you down and not say, oh, that's different. They make you feel, they give you a safe space.
Absolutely. And I'm thankful to have those people with me in my corner. There's some of them are here watching the interview. And now shout outs to my brother K Tooks, who is the host of the K Tooks spot. And
Okay.
I just recently had him on not too long ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great conversation, very supportive. And when I tell you, Ryan, he will call me, he will text me to be like, okay, how are you doing, sister? How are you doing today? Because we have like this brother sister relationship
Okay.
where I will call him and vent about certain things that are stressing me out, and he just like, I get it, I get it, I understand. So it is grateful. I'm grateful to have him in my corner, as well as my supporters. I call them my fashion dolls. They always come through and show me so much love. So it's a
It is.
blessing.
So you understand, you completely understand, and well, and that's actually one question that I was going to ask you, because one thing I have noticed in all your interviews is that your fashion seems to like change with every single interview, and that's so impressive. So and I know at the end of the shows you do the where the guests can ask you questions and all that kind of stuff. But I mean I have to ask you, like, where do you get your fashion from? Because again, it changes like every single interview. Sometimes you have like the hair like you're wearing now, or sometimes you have like the straight hair, sometimes you have short. Like but you pick from so many different genres, right? Of fashion. Like your fashion isn't just, okay, I'm going to take from this kind of fashion or that kind of fashion. It's like, you kind of dibble and dabble in a whole bunch of different stuff. Like, where do you get your creative fashion sense from?
Well, I would have to say it's a mix of all the women in my family. My mom, she likes to play with a lot of different patterns and
Yeah.
experiment this with this. But mostly for me, I flip through a lot of fashion
Okay.
magazines. So I keep my nose in Vogue. I keep my eyes on Paris Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week. Like right now, currently Paris Fashion Week is going on. And as someone stated in the comments, and Stevie's giving shopping in Paris. That's exactly what I wanted to go for with the
Yeah.
theme of Paris Fashion Week. Everything
Okay.
is couture. So I pull from a lot of designers like Jean Paul Gaultier, Valentino, Christian Dior, who's another one, Chanel. It's so many, but a lot of the fashion inspiration comes from fashion magazines, Italia, Vogue Italia, Paris Vogue, Vogue, the American version, and
Yeah.
then Harper's Bazaar. So I'm always flipping through, getting ideas, and then I take that from there and I say, okay, I can't copy and steal their thing,
Sure.
but I can put my own spin onto it. So I always try to be ahead of the fashion trend and curve
Yes.
each season.
Absolutely. And you know what? And I think that's what it is, especially when it comes to and that brings me to kind of something I was going to bring up is adapting,
Yeah,
right? Adapting and adjusting, right? You take something that has been going on for however many years, X amount of years, whatever, and you kind of make it your own. And then when you make it your own, now, you have a new style, or, just like from the creative standpoint, right? Like cameramen and things like that. There have been certain camera angles that have been from the beginning of time, but now you have one person that decides to do a camera angle completely different, or decides to film a movie completely differently. And now that's that's perfect, or that's their style, and then that's what grabs the audience because it's something different. And so that's the same thing for you, right? So you are getting fashion, the foundation, right, from Paris, from New York, from Italy, all this stuff, but you're making it yours. And when you make it yours, people see that and they see that creative mindset and they're like, okay, I want to copy that. And now you're that person that, somebody else is like, okay, well, I'm looking at her style and I'm like, oh, I need to copy that style. And then make it, and then it just keeps going on and you just keep creating creatives, keep creating more creatives, because you don't have to stay in what everyone else is doing. You can do your own thing. And that's cool. And that's being comfortable with yourself.
Absolutely. And not only that, but stepping out of your
Mhm.
norm, stepping out of your comfort zone, doing things that you wouldn't originally
Oh, yeah,
do. And for me, it took me a long time to develop my own personal sense of
of
style
course.
because as we grow up, our mothers dressed us. When we were babies, our mothers would put us in all sorts of all sorts of things. I remember at
Everything.
this one childhood pic where my mom literally dressed me and my sister alike, and we both had like these plaid suits and the type of hat that I'm wearing today, which is like a beret
Okay.
hat. It had plaid on that. It was red and green.
Yeah.
I have to dig up that photo somewhere. But yes, my mother used to dress me, and it's just like it was very tough, very tomboyish, very masculine. But
Hmm.
then I just started developing into my own as I grew up. High school was when I started developing my own personal style. I wasn't dressed like the other kids where they would do t-shirts and jeans. No, I wanted to wear suspenders. I wanted to wear suits. I wanted to wear dress shirts and vests. Just started experimenting from there. And then after I graduated, I said, okay, we're going to take it to a whole nother level.
Yes.
We're going to start showing skin. We're going to start showing back. We're going to start showing
Yeah.
leg. We're going to start doing all of these things. And it's just been a great journey. Every interview, like you said, I don't stay the
Right.
same. I try to change it up.
That's exactly it. And that's exactly it. And I think as we get older, we start realizing that being different is cool. you
Oh,
know
yeah.
Especially if you're a creative, right? Like if your mindset is a career, and of course, and this is, of course, you have people that are just like, I'm going to do the same thing everyone else has been doing forever, and
Right.
and that's cool. But like when you're a creative, like you strive to be different. You know what I mean? You strive to be different. Like when everyone else is doing the same stuff, you're just like, all right, this is boring. How can I do something a little bit different, that someone else hasn't done before? Or how can I be weird? You know what I mean? Because that makes you feel good, because it makes you feel like you're not like everyone else. And just the little things you do, from your style, or from like an acting standpoint, like how you act or how you say things, like so many things. And I think as a creative, that is one of the most important things. Like you mentioned about minimizing distractions.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's one of the most important things, is no matter how many people that you're surrounded with that may not be in that creative mindset, is to remember to spend time with yourself, so that way you can kind of keep yourself as grounded as possible in that creative mindset, so you don't forget who you are. You don't forget, okay, you know what, yeah, I'm around people that have this normal scripted life, and that are doing this and that are doing that, but I myself, like from a foundational standpoint, I need to do different. I need to be different. I need to, live a different way, think differently, and I think that's one thing that helps minimize the distractions, is being okay with being by yourself and with yourself. So that way you can kind of recenter, reground, and kind of get back to your creative mindset.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for you as an actor, what are some of the obstacles and challenges that you've had to overcome while on set? Because I know it's difficult. Like you talking about stepping outside of the norm and outside of your comfort zone. For you, what are some challenges you've had to overcome on set?
Well, as far as on set is concerned, fortunately, like between being here in Illinois and being in like California, um, I haven't dealt with too much nonsense. And I've been fortunate for that. So like the biggest thing that I would say, problem that I might have had, which isn't even really a problem, and realistically, in the acting world, I know we say that there are problems, but they're not problems, because, ultimately we're still doing something that's fun. We're still having fun, opening our minds. So these problems are so minuscule in the big scheme of life, in the big scheme of like real people problems, you know. So like our problems might be, oh, a director or a producer might be yelling at us, but still that's not having to go to a job for 12 hours a day in construction. You know what I mean? Or, we might, our problems might be, we're sitting on set before we actually, we're sitting in holding, prior to actually being on set, before we can say do our acting thing, we might be sitting and holding for like an hour or 2 hours or something like that, just waiting. Those are like the problems. But, in the big scheme of things, those aren't real problems. You talk to people and people have real problems. You know what I mean? Like at their jobs, or like their bosses are bad to them, or they don't know when they're going to get paid next,
Right.
or anything like that. So saying problems on set just seems so like, you know what I mean? It seems so small in the big scheme of things, when you know that people out here really do have, genuine issues, you know.
So for you, do you work to live or live to work?
So I did live to work at one point. I did live to work, where I started off in finance at a dealership where I was working 12-hour days,
Wow.
and I mean it was rough, but the money was good. So you started to sacrifice your quality of life, mental health for the money. And then when I was in California, like the dealership, whatever that I was at, ended up closing down. And then so, my life kind of just went upside down because I had a plan. And then that plan didn't work out. And so it was like, okay, well, now it's like plan B, plan C, plan D. Like, what do we do? And then from then, that's when I got into acting. And then from there, it just was, and I was fortunate enough to, be cast for a few things and just kind of keep it going. And so that's another thing that I can say that I'm fortunate with, is that I know a lot of actors like are acting and they're like, I have to do this. I have a goal. I need to be the top. I need to be the top, right? This is like the actor's mindset. But for me, it was never a goal. So there's very minimal pressure, when it comes to like booking things, because, I just fell into this world. I'm fortunate and grateful, but this was never like my main goal in life. So, fortunate for me, again, anything that I do book, I'm appreciative for. The people that I do meet, I'm definitely appreciative for, right? Because in this world, I would have never met people of the same mindset. So, and again, thank you so much. Even just talking to you and speaking with you, and you reaching out to me and saying, hey, I want you to be on my show. And I was like, well, I looked at all your followers and I looked at, your stuff, and I'm like, okay. Like, absolutely, I'll be, yeah,
And it's a blessing to have you here. I'm glad you've enjoyed some of my previous
of
conversations because
course.
we have conversations like this that impact people's lives. And for you, what was that moment where you felt the most motivated? What was that moment in your life where you felt the most?
um I think when I moved back here from California, after COVID, or during, I should say, beginning of COVID or whatever, I was what I like to call fighting against the current. So, meaning my mindset when I moved back to Illinois was, I need to get back to California. I need to, and that was my mindset the whole time. I was like, I got to get back. I got to get back. So I was missing the blessings that were here, right? Because my mind was always thinking like 40 steps ahead, as opposed to being and living in the present. And I think once I started living in the present, and then I started seeing that, okay, I don't have to be in California to, get jobs, to book roles, to meet other creatives. I think once I started booking things a little bit more consistently, that is when my motivation started, that's when I started to become more motivated, because again, I wasn't fighting against the current. The universe was like, hey, you need to be here, stop fighting it, enjoy here. And once I did that, it was like, okay, now you see the world with rose colored glasses, as opposed to, I don't like where I'm at, I don't like where I'm at, I don't like where I'm at. And one person actually told me something that I'll never forget. And he was one of the first people that I actually met when I moved back here. And he told me to live in the present. He said, just, California will be there, your future will be there. Just live in the present, enjoy the people around you, and that's it. And stop focusing so much on the future. And from then on, it was like, okay, you know what, you're right. And then I think again, you're flowing with the current as opposed to against it. I think that's when things started to open up a little bit. Have you had one of those kind of situations where you're like trying to fight the universe, and then once you stop fighting the
Yes.
universe, yeah,
You're,
and then you let the
it's,
universe do what it does, and it's like, oh, okay, life's easier now.
so for you, if you restarted from scratch from the beginning, would you be in the same place if you had to restart and press that restart button?
You know, I don't think I would. I think everything that has led me here, um, I think I would do it again. In the moment, I didn't like it because, it was a change and it was this, and I thought, California was my life, whatever. But I think the different experiences that I've had, like different jobs, and especially transitioning from like being a finance corporate mindset to being, in the acting world, content creating, investing in different companies. I think all of that built onto each other to kind of give me a wider scope of just everything as opposed to being tunnel vision. Like, okay, I can only act. It's like, no, well, I can act, but I can also have conversations with businessmen, businesswomen. I can have, I can invest. I know numbers. I can do this. So I think all of the different things that I've been through kind of built onto each other, so it's like, okay, well, if I'm not acting, what am I going to do? Okay, well, now I'm worried about this company, this business. Now I'm day trading, now I'm stock trading, so I think all of it just kind of built onto each other. So I think I would do the same thing. I think I would. I like the path. I like the journey.
Loving the beat bass, my love. Makeup artist has been going in lately, sis. Thank you, girl. You know, I always have to come on here with the glam. I was feeling, like I said, I was feeling golden today. So
Yeah, and it
she
looks
went
good
right
on
along
you.
with the glam. So thank you so much. Thank y'all so much for loving the glam lately. It's really been a journey. I love being painted up. I'm like a human Barbie doll, so I just love it. But what is
No,
a
it
pre
looks good on you. It makes everything pop. That's why I told you when I first got on here. That was the first thing that I asked you about was your style, because that was exactly it. Like I noticed your style from a mile away. Anytime I see like your story pop up or something like that, I'm like, she got a different style on. Let me look at her story.
I listen. I love changing it up. I love the drama. I love the theatrics.
Yeah.
I've played. You've seen some of the past shows. I've played with
Yes,
rhinestones. I've had stones over the eyes. I've had gems. I just went crazy this season. So thank y'all so much for
you have
loving
fun
it.
with it. You have fun with it. And that's what's supposed to happen. And anything that you do, especially something that you're volunteering to do, like, this is something that your passion, you have to have fun with it in all aspects.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for you, we're talking about having fun, dreams. What is a previous dream that you've seen that you had the most meaning in your life?
Um, Previous drink, you know, and that's so crazy because, like I mentioned before, I worked at a car dealership, and I
Yeah.
thought my whole life was like set up. When I was at that dealership, I had a life plan, right? I'm be at the dealership. I'm gonna, just dealership life forever until I retire. And that was I don't know if it was my dream necessarily, but that was, what I planned to do, I guess. But then once that changed up, it was still kind of finding myself. And even, X amount of years later, I'm still trying to find my dream. I'm still trying to find what I essentially want to do forever, and I think what I'm learning is that not having a dream is okay. I think what I'm learning is that not having, I don't want to say goals, but necessarily like dreams, like just every single day opportunities that come at you, you take them. I think it's okay to just again not have like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that, because that's also a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure saying that, okay, well, in 2 years I want to be, the owner of this and that and this and that. It's like, well, or I can just every single day get up, work as hard as I can, learn as much as I can, and just put it in the universe's hands, right? Just that's it. But just be the best you can be every single day without necessarily like an end goal. So I don't think I have any dreams. Like I think I just want to just dive into as much stuff as I possibly can, learn as much stuff as I can, meet as many people as I can, and I'll just let everything handle itself from there.
It's all about passions. I create vision boards, and almost
Okay,
everything that I put on my vision board is like putting the pieces of the puzzle of my
sure.
life together. Everything that I want to work on, everything that I want to grow on. For you, what are ways that you stay motivated and encouraged? Like in the morning for me, I say affirmations to myself. I keep saying it to myself. I am courageous. I am outspoken. I am all of these things. You keep saying it to yourself. So for you, how do you stay motivated and encouraged?
So I think my motivation and encouragement is it comes from the fact that I know what I've been through. I know that being in California when, like I said, dealership closed and I'm 2,000 miles away from home, and in an apartment, where I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to make money now? I am all these states away. And then being back here, in my own house, surrounded by my family and things like that, I think that's what keeps me motivated. The fact
Mm,
that I feel any trial and tribulation that comes now is so much easier than it would have been if I was over there, kind of on an island by myself. So I think my motivation comes from like, okay, if I see something that might be difficult, I'm like, well, you know what? I have a support system here and I have everything that I need here. It's not that hard, And then also, again, even coming from that actor, content creator standpoint, this isn't a difficult job. You know what I mean? Like it's not a difficult job at all. You know, um, I mean, obviously it's all relative, right? Because somebody's job is difficult to somebody, and somebody's job is difficult to somebody else. But I mean, it's not difficult, and I think that's the motivation is the fact that I have to understand that like I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be able to do this, because so many people would love to be on set, right? Would love to have that kind of life where, like you said, I mean, heck, have an Instagram show, you know what I mean, with followers and all that kind of stuff, but they can't for whatever reason. So I think my motivation is just understanding that my life, like I'm blessed, a lot more than, a lot of people because life could always be worse. And I think that's where the motivation comes from. Well, here, let me turn it around on you though. Where's your motivation come from?
it comes from the higher being, and it comes from God and
Of
my
course.
mom. My mom keeps me motivated. My grandmother keeps me motivated. My grandmother is 80 years old and she's
Okay.
still living, still has the spirit of a 20-year-old. She's still outspoken. So you guys see where I get it from my mother and grandmother. Those are the two most precious. I'm a fashion girl, as you know, but the two most precious diamonds that any fashion girl could have is her mother and her grandmother. And I'm thankful to have them both. So the inspiration and motivation comes through them because your elders give you so much knowledge. My grandmother's
Very
experienced
true.
so much life, and I go to her whenever I feel sad or down or whatever. Or I go to my mom. My mom is always going to be a support system. So yeah,
That's true. No, you know what, you're 100% right. And so my father, he's 70 years old, so just turned 70,
mine
and
is.
he still goes to the gym. He's still traveling the world. He's retired. He's traveling the world, going to gym. He's still moving. And sometimes, and it's crazy because sometimes when he like forgets some things or whatever, I have to remember that he's like 70. That he's not like
Right.
50 years old, but because he acts like he's 50. And then same thing. And then he has all of his friends that are also retired. And like you said, this is the information. This is where you get like all the information from your elders, right? So like
Yep.
listening to their stories and then going to them for their advice because they've been through it, right? Like our elders have all been through the stuff that we're going through. It's just in a different package. But they've all been through it. So getting advice and being able to listen to what they say and kind of heed it and be like, okay, well, I'm going through this. How should I do it? They give great advice. They give amazing advice. And then you don't have to go through those trials and tribulations because they already went through it. So they can tell you how to get around it.
And just from life experience. They
Mm-hmm.
know it firsthand. They've been through it. You can give them the scenario of the situation and just be like, well, this happened to me. It's just like, really? And it'll shock you because now you have someone you can relate to. They
Yes,
brought you into the world and they have experience. They were there when you were born. So they know firsthand whatever it is. Instantly, mothers have that instinct where
they
they
do.
know everything. They know when you're sad, they know when you're down. I have four brothers and two sisters.
Okay.
And out of all of my siblings, it's like she's able to determine our personalities and how we feel. And I think out of all of them, I was the most sensitive. She's very sensitive too, with certain things that trigger her and that make her emotional. I'm the same way as well too. And I think I picked that up from her. We are our parents' children, so the same
Sure.
things that they inherit, we sometimes in return inherit those things too. And I will catch ourselves like, wait, this is something that my mother would do. It's like having an out of body experience, but things happen.
It is. It's like that. It's like those commercials. You know those commercials where it's like those. This is what your parents would do. And
Right.
then they have what right. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's exactly like those commercials when you start doing things. You're like, wait a minute. I think my mom would do. Oh no. you know. So yeah, no, I completely get you, and that's again, that's something I think we're fortunate with
Yeah.
because we can still, talk to our elders. And that's another thing that we're blessed, right? We can talk to our elders, we can get their advice, we can get. So I think, going back to your motivation thing, I think seeing all the different avenues and channels and support systems that we have, I think that's a huge motivation, right? Because we can get caught up in ourselves and be like, oh, this sucks or that sucks. But in the big scheme
Right.
of life, it could be so much worse.
Mm. And it's all about staying centered, blocking out the
Of
noise.
course.
So when we started this conversation with Ryan, we were talking about distractions. And my next question for you is, what is something that you do differently than anyone else that you know?
Um, well, I think one thing that I do pride myself on is gym time. So every single morning, like first thing in the morning, as soon as I wake up, I'm at the gym. I can't remember the last time. It's been years that I've taken more than 3 days off. I think like two in a row is my max, but the third day I won't because I think that's something that's important to me, and it has been for X amount of years. And then so um, adapting and adjusting, right? So, like if you're on set or if you have other things to do, it's so easy to be like, okay, well, I'm going to wake up and go to the gym. Well, today, if I can't wake up and go to the gym, I'm just not going to go to the gym. But being able to learn, okay, well, just because I'm not going at like 8 o'clock in the morning doesn't mean I can't go at 7 o'clock at night. And then so
Right.
I think, adapting and adjusting is a big thing as well. Because I do know a lot of people that are like, well, if I can't go at this specific time, I'm just not going to go. But that's not life because things are going to happen that are going to make you have to adapt and adjust to your schedule. So I think having those X amount of hours to myself every single day, I think that is something that kind of keeps me down and keeps me centered, is knowing that, all right, for 2 hours every single day, my phone is going to be on airplane mode with the exception of my Bluetooth, for my headphones or whatever, and then that's it. And I'm just going to be at a gym. I'm going to be in the zone. I'm not answering emails. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not texting anybody. This is my 2 hours to just be, to just be by myself. Like, don't talk to me. I'm not working. I'm not doing any editing. This is it. This is my me time. So I think that's something um, that's important. I mean, and heck, now mental health is kind of at the forefront of everything you hear about, right? Yeah.
And that's something that I talk a lot
I
about on my
know.
platform.
Hmm.
Mental health. It's imperative. Sometimes we have to unplug and find that escape. And my mom sometimes it's like the roles have reversed now that I'm older. Whereas before I really didn't understand it. With us being young, at a very young age, we're not understanding what's going on, why mom is sad, why dad is sad or angry. And now that I'm older, I get a better understanding. So it's like the roles have reversed. I'm the mother and she's the daughter in this situation. And whenever she's down, I have to go and check on her to make sure she's all right. I can instantly tell. So difficult. but we get through these times. And that's my next question for you. How can a single moment have the power to change everything in your life?
Um, Okay, I think, and I was actually having a conversation about this the other day. I think we have certain forks in the road, right? Like certain
Mm,
decisions that we make where we can go one way or another, and this one way shapes our future, and this one way could shape our future a different way, and I think recognizing those forks in the road, like, okay, if I would have done this, you're just thinking about in retrospect, if I would have done this, my life would have went this way versus if I would have done this, my life would have went that way. And I think it's easy to realize those forks in the road later on, after you've made that decision, as opposed to um, thinking in the moment, like this is going to lead me down one path or another path. So
yes.
yeah, I think that is one of the things. So like for instance, you decided to go all in on this show, right? You decided like this is going to be your show, this is going to be your platform. You are going to continue to blow this platform up. But what happens if, say, for instance, you decided that you didn't want to do a show? What happens if you decided, hey, instead you would rather? Sorry, that's my that's my cat being nosy. Um,
Oh,
yeah, you decided you wanted to get just like a regular job or something like that,
right.
right? Then that changes your whole. That's your fork in the road, right?
Yes.
Do you, and I've had that before, where I don't want to say given up, but I felt demotivated, right? From the acting thing, from the content creating, from all of this stuff. And I may have like applied for different jobs. And for some reason or another, they may not have worked out, meaning I didn't get a call back or something. And then something in the creative world might have come through. And so I think that was like a higher power, the universe saying, don't do that. Stay motivated in your world. Like stay motivated with what you should be doing. Don't veer off the path just because it's not happening right now. And I think that is something. So like the fork in the road, at one point, I applied to be I was going to get my CDL, like my driver's license, the CDL license. But I forgot what company it was, and I was all ready to sign the papers, but the lady never called me back. And so,
Mm,
had she had called me back like that day, I would have been, in class for 6 months doing the CDL or however long it took, and I wouldn't have been, working and acting and all that kind of stuff and content creating. I would have just been doing that. But because she didn't call me back, I think that was the universe saying like, hey, don't give up. Just because it's slow right now, don't give up. So I think I think there are little things like that we need to pay attention to because they seem small in the moment, but then you think about the bigger picture afterwards, and you're like, oh wait, that could have changed my whole everything.
yes. And my next question for you is time a construct? Because we talk a lot about motivation. Is time a construct?
Sure. So you said time.
Time. Yes.
Time. So I've heard so many different. I have a couple of different ideas. When it comes to that, I know wasting time is a big thing, and that's actually one of my
Ooh,
pet peeves. Is like wasting time. Like I don't like wasting it, right? Especially when you get older, you start realizing that like you don't have a lot of time. So like let's just do it. Like if we're gonna do it, like let's just go. Um, but I think it's one of those things where, mentally that's kind of a battle too, right? Because you also see, and it's so crazy because with this social media stuff, especially, right? You see all these people like blow up, I don't want to say instantly, and now they're, getting millions or whatever and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, crap, why can't I do that? You know what I mean? Why can't I in 2 seconds, you know what I mean? But then I think, the realistic side of it is these are all seeds that you have to plant, right?
oh yeah.
From a time standpoint. You know what I mean? It's like little seeds, little seeds, little seeds, and eventually it'll grow. As opposed to, I'm just trying to make a quick $1 million like right now. It's like no, like you got to build up to it, build up to it, build up to it. And so while we don't have a lot of time, I think that's why it's even more valuable and important to use the time that we do have to be as productive as we can possibly be, without burning ourselves out, but just to be productive, And
Yeah.
I think, right? Yeah.
Do your dreams have a deeper meaning?
You know, I wish they did. I wish, I wish they did, but I think I don't beat myself up anymore about what's going to be or what is. I think now it's more so just every single day, like, what am I going to get into? What projects am I going to do? I try not to think like super far into the future as I used to. You have your whole life planned out, and then God says no, right? And then He says that He completely changes your plan. So no, I think every single day it's just, you know what? Let's just do what we're doing. Let's just do what we're doing. The main goal is to learn as much as we can, talk to as many people as we can, stay as motivated as we can, and learn from people, and just be a good person. I think that's the top of everything. I think if you're just a good person, people will flock to you, right? And then you'll benefit so much more than trying to be scummy or trying to be under. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that's what pushes dreams and goals more, because it's all about who you know at this point, right? Like, no one's looking at resumes anymore. It's like, oh, this person got into this job or got this job because they know such and such. So I think that's, yeah, I think goals wise and dreams wise, it's just every single day, just pushing forward and not staying stagnant.
Yes. What kind of life is beyond the universe?
Ooh, that's a deep question. That's a deep. You know what? I haven't even thought past that. you know, I haven't even thought past that because it's one of those, like, taking everything day by day. So the life past the universe. Now, are you talking about like when we pass away, or is that what you mean? Like, what do you mean past the universe?
When we've completed our legacy and our purpose here on earth, when it's time to go
Yeah.
home or whatever, or it's not,
Yes.
do you believe there's life past that?
Mhm. You know what? I believe in it because I think that anything is possible.
Yeah.
I think that it's I I think that we be very closed-minded to think that this is it, right? Because
Yeah.
anything can happen. We don't know what's really, I mean, like, factually, right? Like, we don't know necessarily like what's past this earth. So I think to say, oh, there's nothing past this earth, you just die, you just go into the ground, and then that's it. I think that'd be very, very naive. So absolutely, I think there's life past. Absolutely.
And the same here. Life goes on. Like I lost my sister back in
Oh,
20,
I'm sorry to hear
and
that.
I
Yeah,
know her birthday rolls around June 29th. It's like her spirit is here.
you
And
can
I
feel
posted
it,
one of my guests not too long ago. How do we celebrate her? How do we remember her?
right?
She was a happy person. And I feel as though her spirit is still here through certain things. I've kept certain things of hers.
Yeah,
And I feel like her spirit is with us wherever we go. And it's like a guardian angel wrapping a blanket around us, protecting us. That's what it feels like. That's why I asked.
that's amazing, and I think so too. And I think so because I mean, you've gone, and I'm sure you've gone into places, and you can feel like, you feel uneasy
Right.
with certain places, and you're like, this does, I need to leave. Like, this doesn't feel right, or something like that, or even like places that, like old prisons or something like that, or just, things that you've heard or even seen on TV where they've done like experiments, and that there's just like bad juju there. You know what I mean? Just bad vibes there. So yeah, absolutely. I don't think that once we're gone, we're gone. I think that people can go different places. So it might not necessarily be like one place or two places for, everybody, but I think that there are different spots for different people based on maybe how you lived your life or what you believe in, or yeah, absolutely. I would not be as naive to think that this is it for us. And I do think that we have people watching over us, like our loved ones, watching over us and kind of that whisper in your ear, like, don't do this or don't go there or this is a bad idea. Oh, for sure.
They're there encouraging you, looking over your shoulder,
Mhm.
protecting you. Their spirit is there 100%. And my next question for you is what gets you out of bed in the morning? What keeps you motivated?
Um, I think what gets me out of bed in the morning is the fact that I understand what needs to be done, and again, by me kind of working for myself and like doing everything on my own, not like having like that typical 9 to 5 where I'm just kind of, everywhere, and I think that's fun for me. I think not knowing what I'm going, in 9 to 5, you do the same thing every single day, or, I think that's one thing that I've always wanted to get out of was doing the same thing every single day. So I think that's what motivates me is knowing that, okay, well, today is going to be different than yesterday. Like today, I might be, editing a video, all day for whatever project. Or today I might be, shooting user generated content, as a content creator. Or today I might be, sitting in a meeting for one of the businesses I invested in, something
Right.
like that. Or today I might be day trading. I think just that excitement of every days are different. Every single day is different. No day is the same, and there's always something to do. Like I'm always thinking like there's always something to do, so it's never really boring. Like I very rarely can sit down, and even when I go to sleep, it's like okay, well, it's 10 o'clock at night. I know I'll probably be up in a couple hours because I got stuff in my brain. But I think that's what it is. I think the motivation is being fortunate enough to not be stuck in that like I have to do this, I have to do that, but it's like okay, you can kind of create your own path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People say that life is short.
Hmm.
Why do you do so many things you don't and like so many things you don't?
Well, I think at this point I've realized that life is short. And so at this point, it is doing things that I like. Like I mentioned, I was in finance and I did corporate stuff for basically my whole life. And then once I hit, I think like 35, 36 ish, that's when I was like, okay, you know what? I'm over it.
Time
That's when
for a
I was
shift.
like,
The change. Yes.
exactly. Exactly. It was like, it's time for me to do the same thing. I can't, I had an epiphany where I was, on the phone and I was like, I don't think I can do this for another 30 years, or another 20 years, till I retire or whatever. I was like, I don't think I can do this. And then so from then on, it was like, okay, well, I don't know what else I'm going to do, but I know this ain't it. So, you know, me personally, at this point, I'm not doing anything I don't want to do. Like if like I said, I create my own schedule. So if I want to shoot content today, I'm going to shoot content today. If I'm going to edit, something, I'm going to edit something. It's, the older generation, they could do that, right? Because they had so many more things to look forward to. They could stay at a job for 40 years and they would have a cool retirement. My dad retired from UPS, so yeah, pension, social security, all that stuff, stocks. So, they're set up. We don't necessarily have that. So it's like, well, do you want to work till you're 65 years old and maybe not make it and then still have nothing to, or, enjoy life a little bit now, because what's the difference between retiring at 60 or retiring at 65, but
Yeah.
you took some time to do what you wanted to do for a little bit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to sit back and reflect and think what is going to be the next chapter. Like you said, you had an epiphany and it came over you and dawned over you like, I don't want to do this forever. For a lot of people, we sit in that position and we think, what is the next or what is going to be next for me? And we embark on what we can do to build a place. All of that and so much more. So
Yeah.
it is time, fashion dolls. Are y'all ready to get into the games here with Ryan? So the first one, as you all know, is called the Rapid Five. And the next one is called Turn the Tables, where my guests get to ask me as many questions as they want. So I'm going to start off with Ryan, and Ryan has to tell me five things that he can't live without in the rapid five. What are five things that Ryan can't live
Um, okay. So gym membership for sure. That's definitely number one. My cats. So I have two cats, and
without?
and I love them. They annoy me, but I do love them. My dad for sure, because he is, like I said, he's been a big support system. My mom passed away 2 years ago, and she was a huge support system for me as well. Like huge, huge support system. Um, so those three things. I think my friends also. I think, a lot of so because I don't really necessarily go too many places aside from the gym, like a lot of, the gym community is very, very helpful. Because again, it's about being around people that understand you and understand things that you're
Yes,
going through, right? And so if you can surround yourself with that, then this journey doesn't seem as difficult. Um, and then another thing that I would have never said this, I want to say a year ago, but social media, and I'm not saying it as in a way of, okay, well, I need to be on social media every 2 seconds, but I was never a social media person. I was always very, very private. But
right.
I see how social media, if you use it correctly, you can interact with the right people. You can expand, the people that you know. I mean, because I would have never met you had it been for social media. So that's going to be on my bottom list, but I think that is very important, especially for people that want to expand, right? Especially for people that want to touch different areas of the country, different areas of the world, and this is the way to do it if you do it properly. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think social media, but again, that's like a very low five because I'm still like, on social media, and that's why I keep it strictly business. Um, but yeah, I think social media is big.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So those are the five things that Ryan can't live without. Fashion dolls. It is time to turn those tables. And this is where my guests get to ask me as many questions as they want. So I'm going to pass it on down to Ryan.
All right, so first question I asked you about the style because I wanted to get that out the way because I knew that, like you said, that was very, very important, especially seeing you dolled up and stuff like that. I was like, okay, different look, different style. Okay, okay, okay. Um, Now, you mentioned that mom and grandma are huge motivators for you. Let me
Yes.
ask you though, when it came to say being a creative and just like fully diving into your creative world, creative mind, when did you say like I'm all in? When did you say, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I don't care about anything else. Like this is what I'm going to do. And what brought you to that decision?
I knew at a very young age I've always wanted to host a talk show, a platform.
Okay.
And luckily for me, I would line the boxes up and I would practice. I would have my little microphone and like I'm interviewing somebody, all of those little things. And then right after high school was when I said, okay, I would just cover celebrity pop culture, things like that. But I said, I have friends who also do music, who act. Why not interview them? Why not give them a chance? And that's how Style by Stevie came to be right after high school. And I started very young, didn't know what I was doing. And then as the years progressed, it's sort of like I grew up with the platform. And here we are now, 19 seasons later.
That's amazing. So social media, see, and that's what I mean. When social media, is done properly and done correctly, not just for, whatever, I think it's very, very beneficial, extremely beneficial. And obviously you see it too because, we would have never met most of the people that you've had, you would have never met had it not been
Right.
for social media, for Instagram, for Facebook, whatever. So I think it's so big, like you said, when you use it properly. And obviously you have, and 19 seasons is unreal. 19 seasons is unreal. So you've seen your show grow from I mean, nothing, basically nothing. And then like every single time that you do an interview, you're like, okay, I can do this better. I can do this better. I can adjust this. I can adjust this. And then you just get better and better and better and better every single time.
Right. Because when I first started off, I was nervous.
Of course.
Now I've overcome my fears. At first, when you're doing something or starting off a new business, starting off a platform, whatever it may be, everybody's going to get nervous their first
Yeah,
time.
for
But
sure.
for me, it's now like, okay, I don't know what came over me, but to be able to do all of these things, to interview so many people without a care in the world, it's like a fear, a weight has just been lifted off that dark cloud of fear. So,
That's so important. And that was something that I remember reading a long time ago. And it was by I think one of the creators of The Simpsons. And I don't know if you remember, but like when The Simpsons first came out, they look completely different than how they look now.
yeah.
Completely different. And the creator, he just said, he was like, listen, just put it out there. Just put it out there. Don't worry about it being perfect. When you first put it out there, don't worry about all that stuff. You just put it out there. And if you can put it out there, you can tweak it and tweak it and tweak it and tweak it. But don't wait until it's perfect because it'll never be perfect. But if you can just get it out there and you can see what you need to adjust, and then every single show or every single season, you get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better until 19 seasons later, you're just flowing through things like water, asking questions like no big deal, sparkling and shining up a screen. You know what I mean? Like no big deal. So that's amazing. So you definitely did it the right way. You did it the right way by just overcoming your fears and just being like, all right, let's do it.
And it's been challenging, but
Of
I've
course.
overcome, and it's through God and my support system. And Sunshine asked the question, Sunshine, is that for me or Ryan?
What?
What's the hardest part about content creating? Getting it out on time, making sure that you get it out on time, meeting your deadlines, making sure that the for me it's all about working in fashion, of course. It's all about visual presentation. I like color. I realize that color grabs the eye. So
Yeah.
when I post an image or something sparkles or dazzles, I'm like, okay, I know this will draw people in. This will definitely make people gravitate towards. So it's all about having something that will attract people to you, attracting a certain audience. Because I know for me, I originally, when I created this platform, I said I just want women to view the platform because I'm basically talking about fashion. I'm giving
Right.
beauty tips. I'm giving pop culture. But I said, no, if you want to really, really grow and expand, it's got to be for everybody. You
Everybody.
can't exclude everybody else. You got to have it for everyone. And that's what draws people in. You got to have a key target audience. She's the bomb. I can't wait for her show to blow up. She deserves it. Thank you.
I
Thank you,
agree.
Sunshine. She's been with me from the beginning. So
Yeah.
she's seen giving content creation from the beginning, the days of when I would do pop culture. But now it's just like I'm interviewing people about their lives. So it's different from just talking about what's going on in the world. Of course, I do that, but I'm interested in knowing the actors, their life, how they got from point A to point B, because everybody has a start and then they have an ending to that story.
That's true. That is very true. And to piggyback kind of on what you're saying, I think that is the hardest part about content creation,
Yeah.
especially if you happen to be a perfectionist, to where you go in there and you take these shots, right, of whatever product, or yourself or whatever that
Yeah.
you're shooting, and then like if you have to edit it, you get into the program and you're like, oh crap, I didn't take this out the background, oh crap,
You
I didn't take is
got to
and
go
it's
back
just
and do
little
it
thing,
over
you
again.
got to do it again, you got to do it again, and or the lighting is not good, or just whatever little pieces or something like that, and it's like, well, got to do it again. I don't know how, but got to do it again. And I think that is one of the hardest parts. But fortunately, there are a lot of companies that don't require you to do editing. Like getting into it, you can just give them like the raw photos and they'll do the editing themselves,
Yeah.
which is nice, and it saves a lot of time for sure, right? Um, but then at the same time, like I personally, like we were talking earlier, I like to learn everything I can. because if you learn everything, then you become indispensable. And then, now you're more valuable to whoever, to everybody, you know. So I think that, from a content creation standpoint, even if you are sending like raw videos, I think it's nice to be able to go into whatever program you use, whether it be CapCut or Move AV or Adobe, whatever, and just kind of learn how to edit the stuff, because there are so many tutorials, or you can just figure it out yourself. I think that's huge. And right now, especially because you don't need a producer, to do a lot of stuff, where before, you needed somebody with like an MBA to create your stuff, or just, somebody that you have to,
Yeah,
pay for on Upwork or Fiverr or something like that to do. Now we can do all of this stuff ourselves. Everyone's essentially a producer. You know what I mean? You just have to want to do it, and I think that's why like your platform is so amazing, because the people that you talk to are regular people. Like nobody that you've talked to, like I've gone through the people, nobody that you've talked to has an ego. Nobody that you've talked to is like, oh, I'm beyond it. Like everyone is so down to earth, and
yeah.
off of first glance, you might look at them and be like, oh, they got an ego, or oh, this and that. And it's like you talk to them
No,
and they're
they
like,
do.
oh, they got the same problems that I have. Oh, they deal with the same stuff, and it's very refreshing that you have that kind of talent on your show. Very refreshing.
And I always try to make it relatable because I know
Hmm.
that the viewers watching at home experience the same situation,
Yes.
and they might know someone who's been through the same situation as well too. So we come from a place where it's relatable, both of us, the myself, the hostess, and then the guests themselves, and we give our experience. That's how great dialogue is established. And that's how I get so many amazing conversations, is because I come from a place of personal experience of we are all real people, as you just stated, and having experienced these things in our lives, and know the next person being able to open up and say, wow, I've been through this too.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's nothing worse than hearing somebody talk about problems and you being like, ugh, okay, I can't really
Right.
relate, so I'm just gonna shut down. You know what I mean? Or somebody talking about like how great their life is, and you're like going through whatever, and you're just like, okay, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as many questions as you want, as many questions as you want.
Okay, all right. So next question. So going back to like the mom and the grandmother, because again, these are driving forces when they first, because I know how this was on my side, when they first saw you on like Instagram or something like that, or they first saw your show, like what was the emotion, what was like the party like when they first saw your show? You said, okay, I got a show, this is my first guest, watch my show, da, da, da. Like what was their reaction, like what was?
My mom would just be watching, and I would
Yeah,
go back and show her some of the interviews, and
yeah,
she'd be just like, wow, I'm
yeah,
so proud of you. And then she said it again the next day when we were in the kitchen, just like, wow, I'm so very proud of you.
that's
My
amazing.
grandmother, she's just like, you are going places. God is using you. God is using you to be a vessel to other people.
Yes.
And I was like, that's personal.
It is, and that's true, and you are, you definitely are, and again, I think it's you spew positivity. Like you know what I mean? Like you exhume, like it's just so much positivity that comes from you. And then even like on our conversations prior to getting on this live, like just how you converse is so positive. And I think that was another thing that drew me into being like, when you asked, would you like to, come on my show, January 30th? I was like, yes, because again, I saw the type of, guests that you have, and then just our conversations, via Instagram. It was just like, wow, you know what I mean? This is this is what social media, I think, is for. I think this is what it's for. I think you see so much negativity, not just you, but I mean like people in general. We see so much negativity that when you see something positive, it's a breath of fresh air. And so that is one thing that I want to commend you commend you on is your positivity, your spirit, your just nature, like your just whole your vibe. Your whole vibe is, heck, that's a motivation. You asked me about motivation, like that's a motivation. Is that seeing somebody go from like 19 to 19 seasons to a platform to getting like people on the show. You know, I was looking, you have like legit actors and actresses on your show, like legit people, you know? That's why I was shocked and surprised when you said you want to be on your show. I don't know. Nah, you sure you want me on your show? Because you have like legit people, and there's a reason why people want to be on your show. There's a reason why, like, it's an honor to be on your show for real. Um, all right, so now you asked me a lot earlier about dreams and all that kind of stuff. What's your
Okay.
dream?
My dream. My dream would be for peace. My dream would be
Okay,
for, my dream would be for everyone to be in a world where we're all safe, where we won't have to worry, where we can all be at ease. Because I know a lot of people's minds are wandering. We all wonder. We go to bed and we wake up. Sometimes we have a nightmare. But the thing is, it's all about staying centered. So I
agreed.
pray for my dream would be for a world of just peace. In the midst of all the chaos, where we can all have our minds at ease, because our minds are always racing 24/7.
Nonstop,
And,
for
and,
sure.
and it goes back to what you said earlier, which is having to unplug, not having to worry, not having to open up your phone and see bad news.
That's it.
You know,
Breaking news, breaking news. And you're just like, at some point, you're just like, you know what? If it's not happening outside of the walls that I'm in right now, I don't care. If it's not happening right where I can see, I don't even care. The phones and social media is a gift and a curse. We can learn as much as we want, but at the same time, we know too much. you know. So I think it's a gift and a curse. So where do you want to eventually take your show? And I know you're growing, and I know, again, you're seeding, you're growing piece by piece, doing it the right way. 19 seasons, congratulations. Where do you want to take this? When you dream, when you lay in bed and you dream and you're just like, okay, this is what I can see, this is where I can see myself. Like, where is that?
I could see myself with my own network, with
Okay.
my own brand, like how Drew Barrymore has her brand. She has a
Yes.
magazine, she has cookware. That's what I could see myself doing, but in the aspect of fashion,
Okay.
having my merchandise in the stores, mugs, of course, couture fashions, all of these things, having my shows in Paris and Milan. Having my products in the stores as well, too, magazines. That's what I could see myself. And that's where I dream of seeing myself in the future. And also having my own cable network where I bring on actors, directors, producers, writers like yourself, that giving them an opportunity, not just to solely focus on me. And of course, the show would be there, but
Right.
to showcase their films as well too.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. Okay. So you would be like, I don't want to say like a talk show host, but would it be similar to that, like that kind of
Yeah,
fashion?
businesswoman, like how Drew Barrymore, I love how she has her. You go in the store and you see her cookware, you
Yeah,
see
she got
her
everything.
magazine. She's got everything.
So that's where your head. So then this show essentially is just like a stepping stone to
Yeah.
get there. So okay. So now another question from a business standpoint, what's your next step?
My next step, invest. Invest. And this is what my mother was telling me, because our parents originally, when we tell them we're going into the entertainment business or show business, they kind of have their reservations like,
Oh, of course. Of
you're going to
course.
college.
Yeah.
You're going to college. You're going to school. What's going to be your backup plan? So the same question you're asking me was that was the same question I was asked. What is going to be your backup plan? Well, a lot of people don't know, but going to school, I took up cosmetology, and I am a licensed registered cosmetologist. I just renewed, and I took my class last year in 2024. So I'm
Okay.
covered all the way until 2027. So
Yeah.
I won't have to until another 2 years. And
Yeah.
so I'm skilled in makeup artistry, hairstyling, and also doing nails as well too. So I'm responsible for doing my own nails. I do my
Yeah.
own nails. I don't go to a salon. I know people ask, "Do you go to a salon?" No, I do them myself. Seriously, I do. So
Yeah.
always have something to fall back on. So invest into this platform. My mom was saying, get a studio, have people in your neighborhood come in and watch your interviews live. Get your guests to fly in. So that is going to be the next step is investing in a studio.
Okay, so here now another thing because and I didn't know this prior, but and I don't know if you know you have this as well, but so
Yeah.
we have like here in Illinois or in Bolingbrook, there we have a library. And in our library, they have an audio and a video section at the very bottom to
Oh,
where they do have studios and where they do have the, and again, it's free because it's library, right? You just need a
yeah.
library card. So take a look at that because that might be something. And I mean, and they have everything. They have 3D printer, they have the laptops you can use, they have the headphones that you can borrow, they have all that stuff. So that might even save to where you don't have to, you know, rent a studio. And then they have,
Mm,
you know, the full on green screen, all that kind of stuff. So check that out at your library because they might have that. Because again, they have it here and it's like at the very bottom. Again, nobody really knows about it. But I was doing a podcast with one of my friends and he, like I said, that's like his world. And he showed me and I mean, they have everything you could possibly use. So that might help as well, you know, instead of having to rent a studio for 5 grand a month or 10 grand a month, you know, whatever.
that's
So that's
a
something
lot.
to look into. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. So, like I said, the library, I mean, libraries have a lot of resources that I think that we don't really tap into, but heck, we're paying taxes. So we might as well use it as much as we can.
Absolutely. And I definitely will look into that
Yeah. Yeah,
because
for
I want
sure.
the platform to grow. It's already getting
Hmm.
massive success. People are getting to know more about me and my life story through just watching the show. If not me, then the guests. They're looking at the guests and they're getting their life story as well too.
Yeah. That's why, you know, and that's one of the things, especially when it comes from an investing standpoint, you know, as much information I think as we can share, you know, with each other, I think that's just going to help us grow because at the same time, you know, my cousin would always say she's a like a huge businesswoman in the construction world, and she would always say that no one wants to be on an island by themselves, right? And so if you can get as many like-minded people to support you, to invest in you, to hey, give you ideas on, you know, you should try this, dot dot dot, to kind of get out of like what you may already know or think you know, I think that's huge, you know, and I think learning and talking to different people, that's one of the benefits of, you know, talking and learning from different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the audience is seconding that agreement. Sunshine is agreeing. I agree too. Invest, invest, and save also as well. And that's something that my mother has instilled into
Hmm.
myself, my two brothers, as well as my sister. That's something that she's instilled into us is that we have to save. If you want to go for something, invest into. Yeah.
You have to, and especially now, I think saving and having kind of like liquid cash, you know what I mean, that you can put your hands on
Mhm.
is very important, and especially now, you know, in the climate that we live in. I think having as much, you know, cash that you can, you know, like actual physical dollars, dollar bills, I think that's very, very important, you know, just kind of making sure that you're set because we don't know what's going to happen, you know, so we just have to essentially, you know, plan for the worst, hope for the best,
Right.
but you know, we have to still be as vigilant as possible and kind of see what we're up against and be like, all right, well, if something happens, you know, family's taken care of, you know, things like that, and then you have to make sure that you're taken care of as well.
Something I've had to discuss with my mother, and thank the Lord we are okay. We are good
Good.
with that. Safe. Yes.
Good. Good, good, good. All right, so now with your show, like I said, I see that it's growing and it has been growing. And I know you like you mentioned you have your cosmetology license. What are you thinking about doing next for with your show? Like next, what's the next step show wise?
Mm, we're in 19 now. I
Right.
want to keep going. I want to keep going. I want to keep spreading the word, educating. That's what I want to do. But as far as this next wise, I know a lot of people are like, you do it virtually, yes, and I love it how we're able to interact with everybody, everybody's followers and everything. But I want to do it in person. Before, when like you've mentioned the pandemic earlier in the conversation, my fear was just like I was scared of everything.
Oh yeah.
Everything was shut down. I was scared. But now I want to overcome my fear and I
Okay.
actually want to be able to feel the human touch, the connection, be able to interact with the audience, go and walk around with the microphone, ask questions. That's what I want to do next.
Okay. Okay. And you know what? I think that's very doable. You know what I mean? That's very, very doable. And I think one thing you have going for you is that your dreams, your goals, your next steps, they don't seem so out of space, you know what I mean? So just far out. Like they're very, very doable. And I think that's something that can also help keeping, the motivation is that you're not saying, okay, well, what's my next step? I want to do interviews in Washington, D.C., and I want to interview the president. Like, you know what I mean? Something that's just like so, so far, far away. I think you saying, again, like we were talking about steps, right? Like every step and seed is to something bigger. So, I think by like you said, your step is you want to do things in person. That's a very attainable seed. That's a very attainable dream, attainable goal. And I think once you hit that, then, your mind's going to expand even more because even when you started this show, your format was different. Your format when you started this show, like your first, X amount of seasons, your format was completely different. It
Yeah,
wasn't like it is right now. And so it's going to be the same thing. Yeah, I peeped it, I watched it, and then it's going to be the same thing when you start doing things in person. In person, your format's it's going to take some tweaking, because the first time in person, of course, like you mentioned, like when we all start something new, we're gonna be nervous. It's gonna be a little choppy. Where am I gonna stand? Where am I gonna put the mic? Am I talking correctly into the mic? Things like that. But I think as you progress, that's going to be exactly like this show is. That's going to be exactly like this is, where you're smooth, where you're cool, where like any question, you're just having conversations and you're comfortable. And I
yeah.
think that's what it's about, being comfortable.
And making my guests comfortable as well
Of
too,
course.
because it's doing interviews are nerve wracking, and it's like you don't know what you're going to get, what you're going to expect. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, no, for sure. But you make it easy, because you're very conversational, and I think by you being conversational as opposed to just kind of like spitfiring, question, 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 question.
right.
I think that's what makes the interview not necessarily an interview, but more just a conversation, and that's what makes it comfortable. So I
And
definitely think I thank you, and you're amazing. Like I said, you've definitely grown. And watching you grow, like I said, through everything that I've watched is it's it, man.
it's such a blessing, such a blessing, and it took a lot of people backing me, a lot of crying, praying, fighting for me to get where I'm at now, where I'm totally just like, okay, let it be. And not learning to construct myself all the time. I would go back and I would watch some of my past interviews and I would critique
Of course.
harsh. And I'm just like, you got to get out of your own way. You got to stop putting yourself down. There are
Hmm.
things you work on, but you don't have to critique yourself or beat yourself up so harsh. And
You
I've got
don't.
at this point in my life, I'm just like, now I can sit back and watch the interviews and I'm like, you're over exaggerating things. Everybody's saying you're doing well. You are doing excellent. Keep going.
That's the hardest part. I think that is the hardest part as either a perfectionist or someone that
Yeah.
puts out content or whatever, is that you can see different things than other people see, right? Because you have an eye for certain things. Like, similar to somebody who does like sound, right? Or a cameraman who does lighting or something like that. To the naked eye, lighting might be perfect, it might be great, or sound, it might be great. But to someone who specializes in sound, you can hear a pin drop, and that's going to affect how post production is going to, be able to tweak that, or if that can be, taken out during post production. Same thing for a lighting guy. A lighting guy might see like shadows where a regular person wouldn't see
Hmm.
shadows. But that's the
Yep.
same thing for you. You're looking at what you're putting out there and you're like, oh, I need to fix this. I need to fix that. I need to fix this, because you know what you're looking for, because you have that eye, that ear for what you're looking for. But to the outside world, it's perfect. And that, I think, is one of the hardest parts about being a content creator, about being a creative, is that how you want it to look. And when it doesn't look like that, it's like, I
Yes.
gotta fix it. I gotta redo it. Or this was bad. You know what I mean? You start critiquing and criticizing yourself. And then you put yourself down.
And that's any consummate professional. They
Right.
like things to be perfect. And as you stated, perfectionist is like you took the words right out of my mouth, because that's what I am. I love things to be perfect, to run smoothly. Audio, visual, sound, everything has to look good for the audience.
That's exactly it. And it's so hard, because you don't want to put out anything that's like crap, but
Right.
that, sometimes things are beyond your control. But it still gives you that uneasy feeling, especially if you legitimately care about your job or legitimately care about what you're putting out there. It's easy to just create something you don't care about, just put it out there just so you can meet a deadline and be like, all right, I'm over it. But if you're passionate about what you're putting out there, or the content that you're creating, you don't want to have those flaws in it, because that's a
Right.
representation of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we close and wrap, this is such an amazing conversation. I hope you all took some gems from it. Ryan, what would you give? What are some nuggets you give to people as we close out this month and go into a whole nother month, which is February? What are some
Oh, I'm
gems that
not gonna lie, this was like a long, like, week and a half. This was like a long, like, 2 weeks. Yikes. Okay. So do whatever you can to alleviate pressure. Everyone's journey is everyone's journey. Just because you're not where someone else is doesn't mean you're not headed on the right path. You can't compare yourself with somebody else, because then you'll drive yourself absolutely bonkers.
I would
You
do it
know,
too.
right? Absolutely bonkers. So you have to realize that, like, this is my path. This is my journey. This is how things are happening for me. I don't care if this person is, whatever, and is like high above, or has done this and has done that. It doesn't matter. All I can focus on is making sure that every single day I'm doing the best that I can do, and I'm minimizing the distractions. And remember that, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
So don't compare yourself to anybody. You do your thing, because at the end of the day, somebody's comparing themselves to you, and you're further than someone else is, and they're probably thinking, "Oh man, I wish I was where they're at." So everyone always has somebody that they're trying to like chase, but we don't need that pressure. So comparison is a thief of joy. That's what I would have to leave with.
And to add on to what Ryan just said, today's final thought comes from Dale Carnegie. And action breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. And if you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Go out and get
Yes.
busy. Now is the time.
Yes, just like what you said when we were talking about the show, like in creating the show, just put it out there. It'll work itself out. The kinks will work themselves out. You'll figure it out. But just put it out there. Don't sit and think, oh, this isn't perfect. This isn't nice. This isn't great. This is going to be horrible. Because the more that you
Oh, yeah.
overthink it, now you've just wasted 2 years overthinking, trying to make something perfect, when you could have been 2 years in to whatever you were going to put out there. So I 100% agree.
This was such a dynamic conversation, a dynamic experience, and I would love to have you back on again. So before we
Absolutely.
go, I'm gonna send you the dates. Before
Okay.
we let you go, where can everyone follow you and check you out and support
Sure. So on Instagram, I am at Ryan H Keith. And then on Facebook, I am same thing, Ryan H Keith one, I believe. And so yeah, so those are the two places that I'll be. And then various content for different companies and things that I'm sure like shows up on different commercials and stuff via Instagram, Facebook, things like that.
There you have it, fashion dolls. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Keith joining me tomorrow. We have comedian actress Ja Quay. She joins me tomorrow. So make sure
Oh,
you
that would be
guys
cool. I'll
tune
watch that. Yeah, that would be cool.
in. And thank you. Thank you
No,
again
thank
so much
you.
for giving my platform a chance. I've really enjoyed this
Thank
conversation.
you for giving me a chance. Like I said, I saw the actors and actresses that you have on here, and I was just like, oh, okay. I don't know if I could, but all right. No, it's been a pleasure. I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be on your platform, and I'm excited to see it grow. I'm excited to see it continue to grow, and to see like where you go, and like just to follow you, just to follow your success. It's like I said, I'm looking forward to it.
And there's more to come. Thank you so much. And definitely going to have you back on again.
Please do. Please do. I look forward to it.
All right, fashion dolls, and you guys can find this interview up in Style by Stevie Daytime on YouTube. You guys can check out the full interview from beginning to end. And again, Ryan, thank you so much. I had a
Thank
great
you.
time.
Me too. Me too. Thank you so much. Bye
Take
bye.
care.
You too.